I just wanted to address the draft grades that I established for this 2017 season and make some mild predictions on who I think will be in the playoffs, who will be the division champions, just solely based off draft capital. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to address every team, so be patient with me. First, I want to start off in the West and go from, least to best team in that division, that coincides with my draft grades. First, I got to start off with still deciding. I really, really don't know where you plan to be in the first month of football, but it'll probably be crying in a beer because this team is riddled with injury and suspension. At full strength, easily a B plus or an A squad, no doubts. But if the team can pull some early season upsets, then it'll probably mitigate Zeke being absent or Luck being hurt. I mean, he's got Phillip Rivers to try to hold him off, but with Lynch and McFadden, should also be able to stave off some of those woes from Zeke not being there. Aside from Julio Jones, the receiving corps is just But Julio Jones probably can put a shot in anybody's arm, especially with his explosive potential and Matt Ryan throwing on the ball. But I guess still deciding a D. Worst out of all 12 teams. He's got a D. Only because right now it might be too big of a hole for him to hop out of. He's got a D. Next in line, we got Storm is brewing. A storm is brewing. Best part of this team is the wide receiver corps. Can't knock that. So with his wide receivers, in the way our league is set up, he has great potential week in and week out. But the late quarterback additions could prove disastrous, especially if injuries start occurring. But I guess that's with any team, right? He's got those quarterbacks that can be great one week and then give you, a single-digit point the next week. Tight end position is a glaring mark. No depth there. And the running back core will improve when Doug Martin gets back. So I'm not too terribly concerned. But the squad gets a C plus in my book. And, it's mainly because he's got a stable of receivers that can really hold down the fort for the rest of his team. Next in line, I got Lazy Pugs. I really like the direction Lazy Pugs is going, especially due to him trading away his 4th-round pick to acquire Mike Thomas, Drew Brees' apparent number 1 target, to get that combo. It has decent balance. Like, the entire roster is balanced with, household names and people that you could probably, lay your hat on and be like, I'm comfortable with those being my backups, especially if anybody in my starting lineup goes down. Really like where Lazy Pugs is going, especially not having a 4th-round pick. He did so much better than some of these other guys that, had front-loaded their draft. He had to backload and still came up kind of like roses. But the best team in the West, I feel, that'll be the division champion, will be D. And this is not the same DDD from years past. That owner is gone. We actually had an owner jump off his team and hop on a new team. That's unheard of, unprecedented. It's first that's ever happened. And we'll see how he handles the new terrain. LaShawn McCoy and Jordan Howard fell in this guy's lap. So, his running back pool is astounding. It's just, especially the starter, super impressive. Plus Brady, Brady could come back like he did in 2007. We got a 40-year-old quarterback, but I don't think anybody's questioning the GOAT. But the wide receiver pool is meh. Even at the high ceiling, I think these guys are just middle-of-the-road wideouts. So the tight end squad has potential, banking on, Henry supplanting gates. But overall, in the West, I think DDD. Wonder if he's changing that name, but I think because designated drunk driver is a damn good name. That's a super good name, but that's neither here nor there. Manuel Hernandez, best team in the West, probably will win the Western Division based off his draft capital. And let's move on. Let's move on to the Central, and let's start at the bottom of the pile. I got Classy Strippers. Gave this guy a C. Veteran wide receivers coupled with rookie running backs. Now I can see where you're going. Your keepers were in the 5th and 6th round last year. You want to try to spot and spark some other things that are going on. Make sure that you probably have some viable keepers for next year, which I think you did. I mean, a sneaky positive draft with wicked upside. But upside, my friend, does not get you to the playoffs. Not in my book. I like the potential. Otherwise, we're looking at a pedestrian team overall. Next in line, we got Adai, the Aquarius. Another shitty fantasy football name. But let's move on to his draft. I gave him a C+. He did exactly what Classy Strippers did. And in divisions, who knows? I kind of like... The only reason why he has a C+ is I kind of like his rookie running backs a little better than Classy Strippers. Again, veteran wide receivers coupled with rookie backs. It's a questionable move, but obviously Hunt and McCaffrey are talented. They're going to have his fair share of play in both of those offenses. I like both the offensive minds that work in there, and should be okay. With no backups at tight end or quarterback, though, waiver wire matchups may prove to be slightly disastrous week in and week out, especially if injuries occur. And bye, babe. See you. The bench is wonderful for trades, and with this owner definitely will want to make trades. I mean, he's always the one posing these exotic trades, but with his bench, he actually has some trade capital, which also adds. I mean, it's borderline a B, but with rookies, you can't really judge on college play. He's got to play NFL minds and bodies. Coaches are going to game plan for these guys, and the players definitely don't want a rookie, just going crazy. I just don't know how this is going to pan out, how their bodies are going to take NFL punishment. But that's neither here nor there. I kind of like the draft. Gave him a C+. Could have been a B, but I'm going to stick with the C+. Next on the list, we've got Flawless Victory. And unfortunately, Flawless Victory, he's probably one of the worst damaged people from Harvey. Had to be rescued, displaced. I would say my prayers go out to the family, but my thoughts are with the family. That's probably the least religious way to put that. My thoughts are with the family. Take care of them, and I think despite going on auto draft a couple of times, because I know NFL.com, it seems like they're doing too much, especially with the draft app, and even when you're in the website, it's a whole lot of hoopla that really does nothing. And I'm sorry for that, but this is the only website where that custom draft board is there that accommodate all these exotic trades, and the keepers, being able to slot the keepers where we need them to be slotted. So, but Flawless Victory, despite being on auto for a few picks, draft wasn't that bad. Dak Prescott is his lone quarterback, which could prove problematic. I don't think you want just one quarterback, and then you just on the waiver wire in case something happens that's horrible, or for bye weeks. But he's in the second year. He's got more rapport with Dez. I kind of I loved him as a rookie. I don't think he'll hit a sophomore slump. DeMarco Murray will strike fear in the hearts of his opponents, along with OBJ. Those were his keepers. I think he's going to be fine. But the lack of depth at quarterback scares me. Overall depth is meh, but it's manageable. I mean, going on auto draft a couple times, I think he drafted a guy that's on the PUP list. You put that guy in your IR spot, and then you just go into the waiver wire. You may do, but with the starters that you got, I give you a B minus because your depth is better than a lot of people. And you got OBJ and DeMarco Murray, Dak. B minus. But I don't think it's enough to supplant who I think will be the division leader. And to my week 1 opponent, Miami Dice. Oh, man, I've been wanting to say that name for a while, but in some of these videos, I just forgot. Miami Dice. I think it just rolls off the tongue very well. And that's just the name. So we got somebody with great naming ability. But let's talk about his draft. Miami Dice. His draft, if Cam Newton is the MVP, like we all know and love, he'll carry the shortcomings of this team. But there aren't very many shortcomings. B plus for this draft grade. The running back is a little light. But, I mean, with the volatility of running backs, waiver wire, plug and play, I think he'll be fine. But the wide receiver core is solid. I mean, the bench has potential easily an A squad once we know if Cam is who he, once was. Easily an A squad. Loving Miami Dice's draft. And just, some questions dropped down to a B plus. That's who I think will win that division too. Miami Dice. But let's go out to the beasts in the East. Now, who had the worst draft in the East? None other than our current reigning champion, Chicago Chalupas. You got A-Rod, you got AB. Your draft ain't that bad. But everything else just looked like you took a crap and just said pushed it through the computer screen or the phone or whatever you were using to draft. You just shut the bed, bro. A-Rod gonna carry you far. Otherwise, meh on the draft, bro. No tight end depth, and with Jordan Reed, you probably want some tight end depth. You might want a nice backup because Jordan Reed, I don't remember him completing a single season, but he is explosive, especially in our league. He's probably the most dynamic tight end per our stats. So as long as he's healthy, you're fine. He's stocked up on hopeful wide receivers and all in the slot. Got potential trade capital there, but overall that draft, maybe having the number 1 overall pick, you got Melvin, you got A-Rod, and you got AB, but everything else was kind of, and that's probably a consequence of everybody drafting pretty solid. So I never liked first pick, but it wasn't allowed you to finagle having basically 3 people from your championship roster. So hard to argue that. I give you a C plus because you just probably could have done better. You really just could have done better. Next on the list, got Bull City. Solid starting cast. But the depth is not there. I gave you a B minus for this draft because you just have some depth issues at positions I think are key. This league stands for not for long. And the quarterbacks and the tight end position, you don't really have a whole lot of the consistency value at those positions. It matters week to week. So, but you got solid depth at wide receiver and running back. Household names, easily RB2s, wide receiver slots, trade bait, especially if things were to go awry at the quarterback and tight end position. I gave you a B minus because you stocked up on running backs and wide receivers, probably better than anybody else in the draft. Next on the list, though, we got the new guy, Adam Frazier, fighting Moose Knuckles. Another interesting name, but nothing that rolls off the tongue like Miami Dice. So But we got a B grade for Fighting Moose Knuckles. Excellent wide receiver play with young wide receiver talent. He's probably got an interesting trade value situation there, especially if those young wideouts were to break out. He could probably fill out some of the glaring holes in his roster, which happen to be at tight end. As long as Winston remains healthy, I guess you really don't need a bye-week plug-in, but that's cross those bridges when you get there, right? Hopefully the young guy stays healthy. Love watching him on Hard Knocks. I just think his leadership is kind of corny, but it works for the Bucks. And the offense seems to be very vertical. Another plus for our league in particular. Kind of like where that goes with the Fighting Moose Knuckles. There's nothing to be said about who I think is going to win this division, especially based off the draft grade. Now, not a whole lot going in. I mean, you got Bell and Gurley as your top running backs. I know Gurley had a little off year, but we got a very young coach, Sean Payton. Oh, give me some. This offense is going to transform Gurley. New city. And this is going to be a wonderful year, I believe, for Todd Gurley. I can't believe I was able to acquire him in the second. I'm just happy to do so. I got D-Hop leading my wide receiver stable, and I really chose to go with some veteran assistance in this matter. I went with Larry Fitzgerald, who, Father Time will eventually catch up with him, but on the disabled vigilantes, we gonna keep him on the roster, right? So, and to couple that, I am a huge fan of the Shanahan offense, that Gary Kubiak offense, where they have just wonderful wide receivers, especially the lead man and the tight ends doing the most damage. I chose their leading man, Pierre Garçon. And with his experience under Peyton Manning, Kirk Cousins, and he's out experienced with this Shanahan offense, I see him he's a wide receiver one in my book. So I got 3 wide receiver ones at the wide receiver position, 2 RB ones that are just solid in this potential league. I don't know what else to say. With my 2 4th-round picks, I was able to acquire the MVP and Tyler fucking Eifert. Not Tyler Eifert. He was later. After. I was able to acquire Travis Kelce. Probably one of the best tight ends, most dynamic tight ends, especially in that Kansas City offense where they utilize tight ends like there's nobody's business. I kind of like where my draft went. It kind of got dicey when I drafted the extras of the roster, kicker, defense, and IDP. As you can tell, huge Texans fan. I really don't care who my defense or my IDP is, but it's even more sweet when I can win with those guys. My kicker, Bailey, I just needed something consistent. And Dallas will be consistently in the red zone. I don't know if they'll be able to score in the red zone without Zeke, but I'm definitely going to get some Dan Bailey action consistently. But my depth is a little off. I didn't like where it went, but you guys drafted extremely well, better than I thought. So my depth is a little shaky, but I got Matt Stafford on the bench. I mean, these are 2 top 10 quarterbacks a year ago. And Matthew Stafford should be healthy, and they should be making a push in that stadium over there. I got some trade capital, with Tyler Eifert, Matthew Stafford. I picked them early with those purposes for trades, just in case some teams need quarterbacks and tight ends, in which, as you heard, might be a situation. So I'll be looking for depth at running back and wide receiver if you want to, shoot me some trades. But easily gave myself a modest A++. Just to let you know who I think will win this division and the league. So here I am, sitting with the best roster at the moment, especially with our settings. I can't complain. Left Bell, D Hop, Todd Gurley, Matt Ryan, Pierre Garçon finished me up. Just roster baiting for no reason. I'ma stop. Okay, I'm gonna quit. That's my draft analysis, my draft grades for the 2017 season. Hope everybody got what they want. Waiver wire should be opening up here, and then it'll be open up like at midnight, I think. I don't remember. It shouldn't be just one day for the waiver priority. I'll be checking it just to make sure. But I know some of you guys are anxious to shore up some of these roster spots and whatnot. So I guess place your bids and hope to get those guys, or wait for the waiver wire period to open. Football's back, fellas. I just made my payment. We're waiting on payment from 3 other owners. One of those owners was displaced by Harvey, but I September 4th is when I want everybody paid, and flawless victory. Just let me know if you can't get it by the 4th. We'll convene a meeting with the owners and see if they have some compassion to let you pay a little later. But if everybody can pay by the 4th, that would be awesome. Pay as soon as you can. I mean, we've already drafted. Let's shore up the dues, please. Let's try to shore up the dues and just have fun this season. From my home to yours, it's the best time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Love me some football season. Love me some fantasy football. I hope everybody got who they wanted. I'm going to holler. This video is long enough. Peace!